Order this Facilities and Technology Committee meeting for the Torrington Board of Education on this Wednesday, August 14th at 5:37 p.m. Roll call. Let's see, we did everybody's me, Patrick, Jeffrey, Superintendent, and others, two department heads, and everybody else in the room, including Mr. Siemens. Mr. here as well.
You have an official name.
I'd like to make a motion for to amend the agenda. We would like to swap facilities and technology A and B. So facilities become A, technology become B, to allow for the Siemens presentation to happen so it doesn't have to wait.
So moved.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any questions? Motion is passed. Make a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? None. Motion passed. Anybody on a public line? John? Is there anybody on the public line? No. All right, so we can skip number 5. And then we'll go right into discussion next steps. Facilities, retro commissioning, TMS presentation for our Siemens representative. The floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you guys for having me back. I appreciate it. Just want to reiterate, this is a really good project. Excited to kind of recap it, present to you guys again, and then field any questions you guys have. I think on the call we have a couple members of the Eversource team. So I'm with Siemens. We're the smart building vendor for you guys for the middle school. We also have Eversource, your utilities provider, on the call talking about the benefits of this project. My name is Brent Cantliff. I've been with Siemens for 5 years. Previous to that, I graduated from UConn with a degree in mechanical engineering. Been doing the building automation controls, HVAC stuff since. I think Chad and or Justin may be on. Chad or Justin, do you guys want to kind of introduce yourselves quickly?
Yeah, sure. Chad Magoulis, energy efficiency consultant with Eversource. I've worked at the town on a couple of projects, and like Brent said, this is another good opportunity for the town, and we hope it moves forward.
All right, so I guess to briefly recap, if you don't mind, scrolling to page 11 for me, just to give you that list. I know we did a deep dive on the scope, kind of all the technical stuff of what we're doing. You have experienced engineers from your smart building vendor, Eversource, and their third-party technical advisor that does a lot of the energy engineering for this project. Identify 6 independent measures for the middle school to retro commission the building. So the goal with any retro commissioning project is to take an existing building and bring it up to as new as we can get cost effectively, with the goal of increasing building performance, energy efficiency, simultaneously, if we can balance that for the benefit of students, faculty, and staff in the middle school. So a couple of these measures, very high level, involve programming on the automation system, so the building software that controls the air handling units, the chillers, things that provide fresh air, heating and cooling to students, faculty, and staff in the school. Also includes adding new equipment that isn't there today to equipment that is there today, as well as adding additional sensing and capabilities through the system. Again, with the goal of improving energy efficiency and improving occupant comfort, safety for students, faculty, and staff.
I just have a quick question. Is this information that seems to be in our packet? Do we have?
It was a supplemental.
She
She just sent it a couple hours ago.
Okay.
And it's a technical scope of work. So we went into it last time with kind of exactly what we were doing with each measure.
And I did send out the new one to you, Glenn, when we talked a couple weeks ago, the new revised one. I sent it to you exclusively.
It's been
packet.
Yes, that's what's in the packet.
It's been updated since I think May. So if you've seen in the last couple of months, that's the updated copy.
Okay.
The scope hasn't changed, just some of the costs were fixed for you guys, because I know that was a concern previously. So I guess going down into, to reiterate, a little bit of programming, adding some equipment, adding some sensors, functionality, all with the goal of energy efficiency, building performance, a little bit of indoor air quality for the students, faculty, and staff. So if you can scroll down to the next page, page 12. I wanted to kind of breeze through some of the scope recap and really focus on some of the questions that you guys had in the last meeting.
Can that be enlarged?
Yes, I think so.
Josh.
Zoom maybe.
Thank you, Josh.
It's just the table below that. Yep. Yeah, with the yellow highlight. So one of the questions that was raised was we didn't have final measurement and verification costs from the third-party engineering technical advisor that assists Eversource with the savings and incentives calculations. We reached back out to them, made sure they were comfortable with ECM6. You can see highlighted that is a firm fixed cost for the project for that measure. You now have if you see the column total IMPL period, means implementation costs. The bottom column is the total to get this project implemented, measured, and verified that you're saving the amount of energy that we're telling you that you're going to save. You now have fixed incentives on the electric and gas, which is a one-time payment to incentivize you to move forward with the project. So your total implementation costs minus your incentives for both electric and gas give you your net installed costs. You then take your net installed costs, divide that by your savings annually for electric and gas, and we end up with an ROI of 1.37 years for the entire project, which is an incredibly aggressive ROI. Usually infrastructure projects of this nature around the 5-year range, so it takes a little bit longer. This is basically stating that in a year and a third, you guys will start saving $98,000 a year in electric and $42,000 a year in gas. So this is really an incredible project. Your electric savings in kilowatt hours alone totaled 273,000. The city of Torrington recently did a very similar project with Eversource. They're saving about 440,000 kilowatt hours for 5 buildings. We're getting about 273,000 out of a single building, and that project ended up making the papers that broke, I think, local news last couple of days. So they went through this same process with Eversource, their energy engineers. They were able to finish that project, and now they're touting it as a great success. That was also a great success, and we'd like to repeat that here. Chad, if you reach out to Chad, he can fill you in on, I think, some of the information regarding those projects. I think one of the other questions was around ECM4, which is modulating those air handling unit speeds. So that is existing equipment. That equipment, I don't have the exact dates for you, I apologize. But I wanted to state that once you guys move forward with this, if you make it a year and a half of that equipment, which I absolutely have the confidence you will, you start saving money. That equipment is separate from a new air handling unit, so you're not duplicating costs if you had to replace that equipment. So there's no duplication there. If, for instance, air handling unit were to fail today, code requires that you have this technology on it, so you have to pay for that. The equipment that we're going to install, you aren't getting the incentives necessarily as a part of this project, and you're still having to pay for that updated equipment. So it really isn't, this is the best case scenario to get all this stuff installed, upgraded, and then you're not duplicating costs or effort down the line.
And again, this is with 0%?
Yeah, so Chad, this is all, Eversource customers qualify for $1 million per meter, municipal customers, of on-bill 0% interest financing. Chad, do you want to chime into that and just explain how the projects would progress? We get everything installed, and then you guys would come in and set up the financing for
Yeah, absolutely. So once the project's installed and completed, and we have a final project cost, a final incentive, from there we'll issue a loan agreement, which will, again, show those final costs, show the final loan amount. Once you guys sign off on that, you'll start seeing that loan on your monthly bill. It's a maximum of 60 months for a term, but you can make it shorter depending on how you want to see the money flow. As Brent said, the town or city, did do a project previously, and they did take advantage of that. It is $1 million per municipality. It's not per account number. So right now, the city has available over $500,000 of available financing, which should be well more than enough to cover the cost of this project. And that will be 0% on bill financing.
Are you saying the city's gonna give us the money? Is that what I just heard?
No.
Did I just
So
hear that the city has 500,000 available?
they have $500,000 available to
account.
Oh.
finance.
Right, Chad? Yes.
It's
Yeah, that's how much it's for one town, 1 million. We have 500,000
Left, okay. And what's?
539 to be exact.
So I can talk, right?
Yeah, absolutely, go ahead.
So, when we do this indoor air quality thing, so I want to ask the question, so you guys are aware of this whole indoor air quality, so if they were to come and they were to do the middle school and say, hey, you guys got to upgrade and we have to do all these things, wouldn't all of this stuff fall into that project anyway? And I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if we had the modulating fan speed so we could do that, I get it. I don't see them saying, okay, we'll do everything but the fans because you did those with somebody else. I'm just trying to understand.
We all play in the same realm. A high-performing building is safe indoor air, it's energy efficient, it's comfortable for our occupants. So it overlaps in a big way. This project is the most financially beneficial, this style of project, an energy project where the utility comes in and provides incentive funding and a very aggressive financing vehicle for you guys is the most financially beneficial to get a lot of this stuff upgraded. When they come in with the indoor air quality law, you have to do the work from our understanding, and everybody's still working through this. We work with tons of towns across the state in Western Massachusetts, and Connecticut, they're still figuring out how to implement all this stuff. What we saw was that you have to do the upgrades, you have to pay out of pocket, and then you seek the reimbursement for a lot of it. So this is a really good way to get the baseline implemented, which is your modulation, your fan speed, your demand control ventilation, get some of this stuff going, and then they're giving you nearly $130,000 from the utility to do that project, and then you go and seek for anything above and beyond air quality specific, so your filter upgrades, your needle ionization, your all that stuff from the grant funding as well. So we can help with that as well. This is just one pathway to get some of this stuff upgraded, and a 1.3-year payback is phenomenal for setting a baseline to get some stuff done.
So these fall out of the purview of like an indoor air quality
So
shovel-ready
another
project?
avenue, so this is one avenue to get close to it, not get the whole thing. The other avenue we're gonna have to go down is we're gonna have to get somebody to come in and assess what needs to be done. That's what has to be done by January 1st in one of our buildings. We have to go and assess what needs to be done. Then after that, you have a time frame that you have to implement, which means we have to get money to do the job before we receive the HVAC grant money, if that's available for it. So it is a way to go. It is a way to go, and there's gonna be, so let's just say we do this in the middle school, and we get it done, and we decide next year, okay, the middle school is gonna be our indoor air quality school of the year. And they're gonna come in, and all the stuff that they're doing is gonna be off their list, because we did it. If we didn't, this would be on their list, and then we'd have to do it under the other avenue of, let's just say, an HVAC grant, or, going to the city for capital and blah, 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 doing all of that. So,
Yeah, that's perfect.
So it's just another avenue to get to a spot where we're gonna have to do less when it's our time to redo the whole school with indoor air quality, because it's filter changes and it's CO detection. That's not here, is it?
The domain control ventilation in those
Yeah,
spaces.
so
yes.
there's a lot of stuff that's going to, and why we're so vague is because the law is so vague. This has changed, so I've had the job since October, this has changed 4 times so far
Yeah.
in a year, as far as what we need to do, when it needs to be done, and the amount that has to be done, so it's very vague. At least this, in my opinion, gets the ball rolling for us, and we're doing it pretty much, not having to go for capital.
Yep.
Which obviously is a problem, well, going for capital at this point. Some of our capital that was in 24-25, including some HVAC upgrades that could have fallen underneath that indoor air quality, if we did that particular school. So it gets into the whole thing again, where, way back when this indoor air quality first started, everybody was throwing numbers out there and said, oh, we can do the whole district for 100,000, right? And now we're looking at it, and now to do this testing, a building's gonna cost us 70,000, not the whole district. So there's not,
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit.
it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Jeff, any other questions?
I do. The only one that I asked last time we haven't gotten an answer yet is why we would want to do ECM4 now, given that it's a 13-year payback, it's the majority of the cost of the project. I get that it's the variable drive units for the air handlers, and that eventually you need them anyways, but to Scott's point, if there's funding to be done in various directions, I mean, if you take that one out, the payback on this project is sub 1 year. So I just want to understand why we would want to do ECM4 now with only a 20% reimbursement if you can pay back a lot faster.
A couple of reasons. The way it's packaged maximizes the incentive for the project. You can see through the largest single electric incentive is $30,000 for that measure. The close second largest gas incentive is $10,000 for that measure. So it increases that incentive, gives you more functionality, and ideally extends the equipment life, right? We spoke briefly about that last time. Instead of slamming the gas pedals, it's a calculation we haven't done and that we don't usually do as a part of an energy savings play. But we can put together kind of O&M, operational and maintenance costs for the life cycle extension of air handling units. Those are not cheap pieces of equipment. They range from $100,000 to several hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Tough to plug that in when a piece of equipment's 10 years old. 15 years old.
Yeah. So, and there are spreadsheets that people do financial audit, ready data on their investment portfolios for large commercial deals. There are ways to do it. We just haven't done it as a part of this, and it gets you that additional functionality, and it bundles it really nicely.
How old was the equipment in whatever building you did in Torrington, and was there AHU fan speed modules built into that? Do you remember?
That's a question for Chad, because we weren't involved in that
Okay.
project. Chad, are you able to speak on equipment life?
Talking about the lifetime.
For City of Torrington, did they do drives? I know they did drives on pumps and some other stuff that was in the press release, but I didn't see anything past the press release.
They did. Let me pull up the project 1 second. Apologize.
Well, he pulls that up. My point is only that it's $150,000 to us after the incentives. So it's $40,000 is a great amount of money, but it's on 190. So if we took that out, the savings to the district on a recurring basis is significant. It's mostly all there. We're not paying the financing on the 150 grand. So we're hurting for cash due to budget restraints. I just want to be convinced that ECM4 is required to do this, and the board may totally go, I think it's worth it either way. It's going to put a lot more money back in our pocket instantly if we're not doing ECM4 over $11,000 in savings.
I think you're going to spend that money anyway as you do some of the indoor air quality stuff. It's required to do the demand control ventilation, some of the next step things. So you're going to have to go find grant money for that amount kind of regardless. You're going to be paying for it on the back end with rooftop unit replacements because the VFD spec, the ones that come with it, integrated, are more money. This is, anytime you can have incentives, which is the utility giving you back money that you've already spent on your service charges to do these projects, it's the best pathway to find money outside of a specific holistic grant, which is, as you guys know, very difficult. We go through it all the time to secure. So it's tough. I think this is, with the price you're gonna spend it anyway being on the table, this is what we've found as being the best pathway to get some money towards it. Package it together in a, you know, holistic upgrade and kind of go.
So the true advantage to the board is that we're getting to get an upgrade to the building infrastructure without hitting capital.
Absolutely.
Really, that's probably where the benefit is.
Yeah.
That's the hugest benefit,
Yeah,
especially
and
now
that's-
me understanding a little bit, to be honest with you, Jeff, realizing that we're gonna have to do this anyway,
And we're not getting the money.
and we're not getting money, it's like,
Yeah.
it's kinda like, well, how are we gonna do it?
Yeah, no, it's the counterpoint
That's
to it.
the caveat right there, is we can get it done, you know.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah,
At
Chad,
the, on the other project, there were VFD controls on the hot water pumps at the fire department and the police department.
do you know the age of those by chance? Because that's another example of us.
what did he say?
They're on the pumps, fire.
Police and fire?
police, yeah, they have- So very similar, you're taking this technology, you're applying it to, instead of a fan speed motor, another electric motor, you're applying it to a pump motor, which is.
Yeah, but again, like you said, it doesn't, at that point, it's not the age use. And the FD was done before middle school, and I think the PD was done, no, vice versa. FD was done before middle school, PD was done after middle school. To Jeff's point, the pumps on, it's the ECM, it's the cost.
And yeah, we understand that. Usually, it's a balance, right? We're trying to get you a really aggressive payback, but also look at the needs of the building at the same time. And get you, in our opinion, the best method.
Fair enough explanation. I just wanted to understand it and make it clear why we wouldn't want to do it.
Warranty?
Warranty on that?
All our installed stuff, let me see. We have standard terms and conditions we can get you. I don't know off the top of my head, which is.
What's it typical?
All of our Siemens installed stuff is multi-year. Workmanship is usually, I'll follow up, I'll get you there, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's
We have-
fine. I mean,
It's industry standard stuff, all of
Yeah,
our
3
equipment
to
is all
5.
multi-year warranty and
yeah,
workmanship, all that
I just
stuff.
want to make sure, because in year one, we put the modulator in and it goes where we get,
If the modulator goes.
or just in general, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's gonna be
Listen, if the
tweaks.
air handler goes,
That's
all
on
bets
us.
are
We
off.
get it. All bets are off, but, you know,
yeah, if the,
whenever.
yeah, so what's it normally, a year,
Some of our stuff is a year, 3 year, and then sometimes 5 year.
Yeah, 3 to
EV
5.
drives are 5 year, it's for the manufacturer, so it's to us, but we're here to work with you, we've been in the middle school for 20 years. So we're not, we're ready to do everything in our power, make sure it's this guy.
I got a bunch of questions. I gotta start with just a couple on specific to warranty, where you say some stuff is a 1-year warranty. Are there options for extended warranties to cover that stuff while we're paying this stuff off?
I would think so, but I have to check on that.
Okay, that's number one. So if we could get a handle on what our warranties are and what any extended warranties. I don't know, my opinion, I would think any work that we're doing, we would like that new stuff covered under warranty during the time we're trying to pay this stuff off.
Absolutely.
Number 2 is on page 10, your exclusions. I don't know if our team has looked through this, but from an overall project costs, there are some items in here that I think we need to, or we may need to consider, what is the financial impact for these items? One that jumps out is asbestos abatement. That's excluded from the Siemens scope of work. Network drops, IP drops, addressing configuration. I don't think we pull our own cable for this stuff, so what subcontractor is how many network drops are we gonna need?
So as a part of this, I think we're using all of your existing controller hardware. We're doing all the network runs, all the electrical installation for the variable frequency drives, for all the new sensors, all that stuff.
You're doing the network drops?
So we're doing network runs, but when we say network drop, that's standard boilerplate language. We usually mean from a customer control, in this case Torrington network closet, to our control panel. So that run would usually be on you guys because
Correct.
you have your own standards when it's Cat6 Ethernet cabling. We're using MSTP, twisted shielded pair cabling to connect all the rest of the stuff downstream, and we have that covered as a part of this. That's That's
So
all.
how many,
stuff.
to do all this work, do we have a handle on how many additional network drops are gonna be required?
I think it's only the one for the chiller room, but let me review that real quick. It's gonna be, that is a good point. So not there, that's programming.
Any costs that we incur as a result of the exclusions, can they be baked into the payback period with the financing with Eversource?
That's a question for Chad. That's a good question, Chad. If the school needs to incur costs to get a network drop from a, network closet to the chiller room for measure 6, it looks like is the only one that we would need a new controller for. Is that something they can finance and keep off of their?
I mean, one network drop, nobody's going to bother to do it. But if we run into any of these exclusions, inoperable devices,
Yeah.
repaired as separate billable items, I mean, that's pretty open-ended too. Well, we went to put the variable drive in, and there's something else wrong too. That kind of thing isn't common, but it can happen. It can be a lot of money that we're already, both feet in.
Yeah.
Can it be included in that financing?
I think, Chad, that's what you mean by when we get final costs after any, things that we come across that we work with to identify as change orders or ads, changes, anything like that. That can all be financed as a part of that, correct?
Yeah, if it's a cost that directly relates to completion of the energy efficiency project, then I don't see why it should be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's only one network drive to clear that up. It's just a single one in the chiller room, it's only panel and slab. We're taking care of all the electrical.
Okay.
Are there any asbestos that we're aware of in the areas that they're gonna be working that we have to worry about?
During our walkthroughs, we didn't see anything, but we completely defer to you
I
guys.
think
We're not
just the year the building was built, I think we're safe.
After that.
But I know there's other things that come up, but nothing that is glaring, like you say, that we can see. Nothing in the building is asbestos.
And we're not mounting any, I think for the chiller plants, the only one we're gonna be doing any pipe mounted devices for, so we're not touching insulation, all that stuff.
Do we have like established labor rates for any ads, changes?
Yeah, we can get you a copy of our current fiscal year service rates, because you guys are better maintenance contract for this building. We can
Yeah,
get you a
yeah,
copy.
I may have it, great.
Okay.
Yeah, send it to me.
And the last thing I had was, all this is contingent upon your guaranteeing us a savings. What if we don't make that savings?
So that's a question for Eversource as a part of, from a Siemens division. We're not part of the performance contracting group, where we'll write up a performance contract that says, we're going to cut you a check for the difference. We've had 3 different engineering houses that do energy engineering all day long, run the numbers on this stuff. Eversource is with an LOA, that's kind of a binding document saying, here's what we're giving you for incentives, that's for sure a thing. And here is what you're going to save. That's what the measurement and verification portion is helpful for as well. So from a Siemens standpoint, we don't guarantee the savings, but as far as energy projects go, we've had 3 different professional full-time engineering companies look at this and vet it. So that's what I can say. Chad, do you have a comment for that?
Yeah, I will say, again, we've had multiple engineers look at this as well. The numbers we're fairly confident in. I have not had an issue where the savings haven't been seen, to be honest, so I haven't had to go down that path. If you want me to follow up and tell you what the process would be, if that would be the case, I'm more than happy to do so.
And Siemens does have a performance contracting division that goes in and does this type of stuff, where we'll actually cut you a check if we fall short on savings. It's a much more rigorous process. It takes a lot longer, a lot more labor involved. This is a really good bite-sized chunk. Upgrade the middle school, it needs it, and then gives you some really quick payback, even if we don't realize every cent. The 1.5 year payback is pretty unheard of. But when you get into that performance contracting realm, everything just gets a little bit more expensive because it's more time and paybacks get a little bit longer. It's more of a 20-year partnership with that. That's what we're looking for.
Last thing, the metrics, obviously, on the electricity side, I know everybody's seen the big increase on their bills. I'm sure we have the same fees on our bills. Scott, we have that big increase, so, I mean, what is that, for 10 months, I think they said it's gonna be? I mean, I know our invoicing for our electricity over the next 10 months is gonna go up, but, I mean, how are we gonna, that it's more of an advantage to us if our bill goes up and we can get some savings, that's great, but
isn't the savings based on kilowatts per hour, not necessarily the cost, because your kilowatts are your
your bill's
kilowatts?
based upon kilowatts per hour.
No, so what I'm saying is even if the price goes up, because we're in agreement with the city of Torrington for our energy service right now. That when I first came aboard, it got approved that we're in a very good place to be. I
Okay,
have to look at it as far as what we're paying and who we're paying for. My point is, 3 years from now, we gotta be looking at kilowatts per hour used, not necessarily dollar cost. Because all of that stuff
well,
goes
from
up.
our measure, we're gonna look at savings, right? We gotta keep in mind that we can't just look at the bills. We gotta watch the kilowatt hours, as Dean is saying, we can't just say, our bill's gonna be inflated by
Right.
X percent because of these additional fees. So it's something to be aware of,
Year-over-year comparisons in the same building.
correct?
To show the dollar.
Yeah, per kilowatt.
And that's how we do
Yeah,
all of our.
we're measuring, the increase to everyone's bill is not due to a kilowatt hour or a delivery increase. It's due to legislation that was passed
Understood.
to pay for 10 different,
10 different things, whatever. Understood, but I
right, so we'll be able to do an apples to apples comparison to get a savings, because we're gonna be doing it on a measurable metric.
Okay, and my very last thing, our roof at the middle school. Is there an increased R value when we do the new roof?
Not enough to substantiate, it's just a thin piece of metal. And there is an R value to go with it. But I don't have, it is in that paperwork, if you look into it, there's something in there, I remember what it was, but it's not, we're not adding we're adding a layer of metal. So just think about that for a minute. So it is,
I
there'll be,
thought there was something on,
no, there is, but I don't,
There's insulation in there now, but
Oh,
they're
it's
not
there
gonna
now.
increase the insulation.
okay,
There's a coated R value insulation.
so you're saying that
That's what we saw
what are you worried about
that should
that?
help us get better efficiency.
Right, so that would be less kilowatts per hour too. So they're
Correct.
gonna take credit for the less kilowatts for our roof, is what you're saying. I'm just saying that there's no way to measure it. We do our roof at the same time they do this, which is gonna be pretty close. We're really not gonna have how much
No,
it's
but
gonna
we're
save.
gonna have the same R value in our new roof than we do now.
No, it's gonna be an increase in our value.
No, I remember
I
when
didn't know where he was going.
going over, there was an additional insulation layer to increase the R value of the roof.
Yeah.
So it's just something,
It's in there, I don't know what it is. So you're
that's
right.
all I had to bring it up, that's it, I'm done with questions.
Okay.
I remember the discussion when we were up there.
So,
Did we totally blow your presentation off the rails here,
No,
or?
this is part, it's great feedback, and it's great to
Okay.
hear your guys' concerns, what you like about it, what, all that stuff. I'm just here to stress that the ROI doesn't happen often. It's a really good project, it's a really good step in the right direction. That's
Implementation timeline, I know you said it in here, but
ASAP.
yeah.
Working with you guys, trying to figure out your schedule, I know that, all that stuff, so. I know Eversource wants to close this out, as closer we get to December, they got a lot of year-end stuff to do, and then the program changes, so it's nothing that we can't implement, get going on right away.
So being aware that school starts, we can have systems down and all of this, and you're able to manpower that.
Yeah,
As soon as
we'll
we have to.
work with you, we'll figure it out.
And,
How to make it happen.
So these air handling units are also gonna handle heat?
Yeah, I think there's fresh air coils, there's hot water coils,
And
yeah.
there's ways to trip stuff out,
Yeah.
make it run as they do
Okay.
while we're doing a lot of this work.
Just on one of your exclusions is temporary cooling, and sure,
That was for
that's
the,
excluded, is temporary heating excluded, or is
Yeah.
that gonna be required? Is that?
yes, no requirement, yes, it's most likely excluded, but there's ways to, that bullet point was for the chiller, so if we had to take that chiller offline as a part of this project, we would schedule it so it made the most sense. We don't wanna take your
But we passed that window.
Offline. Exactly.
We passed that
This
window
was when we were
because
talking
when they
about it.
start, we probably won't be in chiller mode. We'll be in heating mode. But again, I guess think of it as hot wiring a switch when you're changing it out. You know what I mean? And it's not that. But
No, I
it's-
know.
But it's, the thing's gonna be running, it's just not gonna be running as efficient or.
Yeah, we do this every day in hospital operating
Yeah, we're
rooms
sweater.
and other critical areas, and we're able to make it happen for you, so there's no interruptions.
Just boil Sandy's room.
Not hers.
Just open the door.
And we're able to, fund resources to budget this, to pay back this. That's really maybe a budget committee decision, but
So what's our
we're gonna
initial
need
cost?
to
What's our initial?
be prepared, because I know we have limited funds.
We're executing the project, and then through the financing.
Yeah, so there's no money up front.
Yeah, I don't know how your guys' budget works, and what you have to be responsible for, but.
It's something, a bill we have to pay.
It's part of the energy bill now, so the savings per month exceeds the payment that they're gonna have us pay. Correct? That's how you guys, they structure it so that if it's $10,000 a month in the loan payment, you're saving 11,000 so that your bill doesn't go up. It's a little bit of variability because of the time of year and the kilowatt hour savings is variable throughout the year. In all of the past projects I've seen, this is not, on an annual basis, it does not cost you money.
Okay.
I just wanna put out there, there's no, it's done during school hours, no disruption to the school day, no disruption to the kids.
That's our goal. We'll work with you to establish what holidays you guys have. If we're gonna be working, we can make it happen, whether it's Saturdays, other off hours times. I think at most we'll be, in the building, but we won't be interrupting, learning space.
It'll be anywhere near our children.
Yep.
Just want it known.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna be bugging Dean to make sure we can make that happen.
All right. Does anybody else have any more questions for Stevens? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
No worries, Brent, but no worries at all.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good job.
Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, thank you.
So moving on, Dean, let's go to number 2, air quality update. I guess covered some of that already, but
Segued right into that.
Segue, nice, yeah, so again, our indoor air quality is ever changing. The school that we're looking to do first is gonna be Vogel. The reason why Vogel was first on the list, or why I'm saying that, is because in the non-approved capital plan, that would have been money in there to do the work if needed to be done with the heating system. So that doesn't mean we still have to do per law, we still have to do one building a year. And that's where we're at, we're probably gonna do Vogel first. So I have quotes, in fact, we went over the quotes already. We already went over the quotes, it's just a matter of kind of pulling the trigger on it at this point.
one building per year starting when?
They need it done before January 1st, so.
All right, so we gotta have one.
And again, this is
school done
assessment.
This year,
This is an assessment, this isn't the work, this is an
Right.
assessment.
but does this qualify for one for this calendar year?
What they're doing?
Yes.
No.
You're doing an upgrade.
I don't understand the question.
You understand
Does
the
their,
question?
does their assessment, does that qualify for an assessment?
No. Because they look into other things, filters and with different airflows. There's a lot that they look into with this air and air quality, and this isn't it. This is part of it, like we said, but not.
They can't do that, are they qualified to do the assessment?
No, you have to be a testing and balancing agency or an engineer, blah, blah, blah.
All right.
So, that's where our indoor air quality.
And do we have quotes to do this for?
Yes. What else was next? Okay, so, we have completed completed, I guess this will fall into where we're going. As far as bid proposals, we had proposals to do sidewalks at Torrington. It's completed. Canava did the job, we all approved it, that job has been completed at this point. And other than that, other proposals going out, I kind of want to seg that way into our 23-24 capital plan, that we have money left over and how we're gonna handle that. If you look, if you guys go to the last page, or where's my page? Yeah. Oh yeah, it is the last page. If you look at the last page, I changed the right-hand column all the way over to the right a little bit to give you an update where we are on these things. Our window replacements for Vogel Wetmore is active. In fact, I just got notified they will be complete by the end of the week, besides a few smaller items. Replace fire alarm. They will be showing up on Friday and all next week to complete that. Emergency lighting, same thing. We're in good shape with all of that. Again, with the window coverings at Southwest, they just started their beginning of the week, and they should be done if they're not done already. What else we got active? Emergency lights, exit line, exit signs, and then the other project that we have is our lock foyer at Torrington. So they put up the steel that is above where the new lock foyer is going to be. This is helping secure the lock foyer in place. They came in and they put that up. They're going to be going in there. They're going to be coated paint on it in a couple of weeks, so it looks a little bit better. We're trying to schedule how we can do this without disrupting school, obviously. So we're looking at Thanksgiving break, and then of course Christmas break to go in there and get this lock foyer installed, and then kind of work on it throughout the year and to button it up. So that's where we stand with that. An update on the Torrington Middle School lock foyer. Again, should be back next week. We're waiting for this one gadget to open and close doors that was back ordered, so that still is not functional, but I was promised that it will be functional before school opens. But other than that, that lock foyer's in very good shape. If you haven't seen it, it looks pretty good. Okay. Active. So if you look at my sheet here, and we have, I have a couple that say reevaluating. Those are a couple of projects, pretty good substantial dollar amount that I guess aren't an emergency basis to be done. So when I say reevaluate, I wanted to hold off in case we needed money for some of the capital stuff on an emergency basis, seeing that we didn't get any money last year or for next year. So we're looking at, right now, we're in pretty good shape with $362,486 that we have remaining from the 23-24 budget, that kind of holding my breath, that if we do need it for something such as Torrington chiller, that we had a little scare this week with the chiller over there, but I think we're able to put another Band-Aid on it and get it going. So here's your update on proposals and where we are. Yes.
Only one I question on is the exterior control joint and window caulking. How bad is it? Just in the water intrusion is always the enemy around here. It's not.
Could hardly find something to justify $5,000, let alone $20,000. So it came out of facility study, and I had to call into Silverson Petrocell. I think they did a facility study, and I haven't made contact with them. We've been going back and forth because I wanted a little bit more explanation of what they meant. I went according to their study, and I took it, and I'm like, okay, where are the problems? There's a couple problems here and there, but nothing that is glaring to me. And went over the whole school with the principal and with the head custodian and say, what do you guys got? So it doesn't look like it's that big of a deal.
So it may be
I might be missing something, by the way.
Or it could be a significantly reduced amount to fix the small problem.
It's a small
areas.
problem, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions?
I also threw in here is an updated, if you see it from Gale Associates on the middle school roof, I asked them to give us a timeline on this, where we are. So that's what this proposed milestone is, and that was just for information basis. I really have nothing to speak on other than we're in this, we're there.
They weren't joking when they said it would take forever.
Well, we did get approval for the committee of one as far as the city approved that also, so we're all set with that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that last meeting down there.
I had to hear a little history, supposedly. They wanted to make sure I knew the history of the roof, so, and I do, which is good.
All right. Any other questions on that? Roof. Revised 24-25 capital plan, is that what we're looking at this as well?
Yeah, didn't really know what to do.
Well, we had proposed something and
Well, again, it's,
now we've just taken everything off, or go with zero, or of our surplus here, are we gonna hang on to it for emergencies, or?
I think, I know, speaking with Dean, I think, and I feel comfortable as long as the board feels comfortable at this juncture, just kind of seeing, at least for a couple of months, you know, to make sure that we don't need that fund to do anything emergency, for example, chiller or whatever the case may be. And then, you know, Dean had some other projects in mind using that original list, that's why he created it at the board's request, but also adding anything new to it. And I think, you know, I would say, and I've talked to Dean a little deeper about this, but since you asked the question, I would say by the October, November meeting, have kind of a modified checklist and to say, okay, if we don't expend it, this is where Dean would like to spend it. So I think if the board is okay with that, I think Dean would be more than happy to re-up the list for 24-25. But right now, we're comfortable.
October, November-ish?
Yes, if that's okay.
but, so, saying that, could it be something, so I categorized the list, on, priorities, 1, 2, and 3. But if there's something else that comes up that is more in dollar value worth, and it needs to be done, but it wasn't on the 24-25 capital, can that be included?
That's the board's decision. I would agree, because you and I had chatted about that.
Yeah.
I think that's the purpose of doing a reorganized list by October,
Okay,
November.
so it's more of a list of, if we can, let's do, not so much a list of, hey, we need money to do it, because we know we're gonna have.
And not throwing out
Okay.
the list that you already
And
made. and all
not throwing out,
over.
but modifying
Since
it.
whatever list we had in the city is
Yep.
basically kiboshed, because it was zero.
Exactly.
We can
Yes.
refresh our list however.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
The city doesn't tell them what the list is, it's just the dollar amount.
Yes. But to Dean's point, he did spend a lot of time on the original list, but I
Absolutely.
also think things changed, so I appreciate that, absolutely.
I guess I would add, we would want to aim for as much as possible strictly reimbursable items, because it's a finite amount of money, and the city did agree in their budget presentation that they would front us out of the capital fund. So if it's a $700,000 project, we're getting 72% back. They did put in writing that they were fronting us that difference. So if it's an expensive project, we do get to use the net amount out of our capital budget. So if it's $700,000 and it's $500,000 reimbursable, you only have to count that as a $200,000 hit out of your capital, which is a departure from their prior approach. But they did have that on the screen at our budget meeting, showing that we were doing $4.1 million worth of work, and only $1.3 million was needed in capital, which is an important change from their past behavior. So we would want to aim with that $300,000 to do $1 million worth of work.
i.e. chiller replacement.
Yeah, whatever it is that you have that would be reimbursable, we should take that train of thought. Let's go after the stuff that, we can maximize the value for. Obviously, there are things that break that we can't do anything about, but I would want to see maximum value out of that, given the current approach.
Got it. All right, I didn't realize that.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? You're off the hook. Let's go to technology. Rachel, it's all yours. Let's go through 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. All right, so first is social media update. So,
Can you talk a little louder? I can't hear them.
Yeah, we got this thing in our
Yeah,
ears.
sure.
Want to turn it off? I mean, are you cool?
I'd rather not. I'd rather
Rather
be a little
not?
hard of hearing than
Thank you.
Okay, okay. So
so the majority of our social media coordinators are off during the summer because a lot of them are teachers. But we did have a few things that were shared over the summer, including the 7-Eleven event at Forbes, which you can see was promoted on the district Facebook page as well as Forbes Facebook page with a lot of good pictures and a lot of good reach on both of those. Almost 6,000 on the district page and then 500 on the Forbes page.
If I could just push pause 1 second there, Rachel, I'm sorry. I do want to publicly recognize 7-Eleven for that Project A-Game grant. That was wonderful to give back to Forbes School. They do want to support the schools as 7-Eleven has opened up in our community. They welcomed us to that event. It was amazing. And we were able to get some of our Forbes friends there. Ms. Howard was there. It was wonderful. So I would want to publicly recognize 7-Eleven. That was a really nice donation and a really good start to them in the community and wanting to work with our school. So sorry, Rachel, but I wanted to publicly recognize that.
All right, cool.
And then I did want to give the honorable mention to the middle school who promoted their Lion King summer production with a pretty good reach on that as well. And then lastly, I'm sure most of you have seen the new website is up, at least for the district page. School pages to be coming soon, just been very busy. But hopefully, it's a new refreshed look and I've gotten some pretty good feedback on it. So yeah, feel free to take a look if you haven't already.
In 20 languages.
Yes, I'm working on that Weedlot
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
plugin as well.
There's a lot of them out there, very good.
Yeah. We're working on it. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But I think that, already I see an improvement, in just overall appeal to whoever comes to the website. Any questions on any of that? So a tech update. I really have to give my team a shout out here because they have been running around crazy and in the heat because a lot of our schools don't have AC anymore. So some of the things that they've been doing was they got approximately 400 Chromebooks ready for summer school use, distributed those Chromebooks, collected those Chromebooks, as well as supported the summer school staff. So that was 4 weeks of that. And then a few weeks prior to getting those devices ready. They've also been power washing or resetting, however you want to say it, all of the devices in the elementary school carts to make sure that the students have a fresh start. So that's about 1,800 devices there, and that's Chromebooks and iPads. In the middle school, power washing, repairing, and tagging the Chromebooks to get ready for our distribution, and that's about 1,000 devices over there. Over at the high school, they've been updating and tagging both student and staff MacBooks for redistribution. We collected staff MacBooks as well this summer to get some updates in, because some of them hadn't been touched since we originally deployed the MacBooks. So I wanted to make sure everybody was up to date. And that was about 1,200 devices total. And then to top it all off of running around trying to fill in tickets here and there, they're also configuring and testing classroom setups to make sure that the staff get off to a fresh start for the beginning of the school year. That's typically something we do a lot of when the classrooms are waxed by the custodians, all the equipment comes out, then it all gets put back in, and so we just go through, rehook everything up, test it, make sure that everything's good to go for the start of the school year. Any questions on any of that?
Kudos to the team, though. It's a ton of work with 5,000 devices.
Absolutely, they've been doing a great job, and I appreciate them all very, very much, for sure. Okay. capital plan update. So I did include my capital plan in the packet again, and I highlighted some things that are still important to me, projects that I would like to get done. And then at the bottom, I also put the 2 votes from the Board of Finance. So I know that at least 86,000 was voted to be transferred to the capital account. That's about all I have on that. I don't know if you guys feel that any of these projects could be accomplished with that money, or
Is this valid?
Well, the question on, the last time we spoke about the Chromebooks, they're not at the compliance state yet because they extended the compliance, but you're trying to prevent the district from a cliff of needing 3,000 devices, so we'd have to rely on your expertise and what that looks like, or at least present the board with, hey, we don't have to have these 400 this year, but if we don't need 400, if we don't get these 400 this year, when we hit that 2026 cliff on those original Chromebooks, I think it's 2026, right,
I
Rachel?
think so, yeah.
So in 2026, we're gonna have a bunch of Chromebooks that become paperweights for use in a school, because they can't run the software and the security and things like that. So what Rachel's asking is to, rather than come to us and say, I need $300,000 for 100 or 1,200 Chromebooks that are falling off the cliff, and then doing that 3 years in a row, really.
Right.
She's suggesting going early. I don't know. I understand the request, and we don't have any, what else do you need? I mean, $87,000 isn't gonna cover the Chromebooks.
No, it's not, and that's the only dollar amount that, I don't know if there's something left over from last year, but I think that was gonna be discussed. But that's the amount that I know of, and then the laptop replacements on there as well, is something that I'd like to circle back to. We were in this cycle of replacing staff laptops, because they're using laptops that are very old.
How old are they? Are those latitudes?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
3550s, I think?
and they were like gifted to us, is what I'm told. It was before I got in the district.
So if they're 3550s, they have to be replaced by October of next year. And you have a portion of them that won't be able to run Windows 11.
Right.
So unless we pay the EA
The
license
smaller
for
ones,
them,
I believe, cannot.
I think those 3000 series that you guys got donated have to be replaced. So
Yeah.
I would be in favor of at least a selection of those getting
Yeah.
done, because anything that can't run Windows 11, we're gonna have to do it next year one way or another.
Agreed.
And then if you have any Chromebooks, there was a small pocket of Chromebooks that didn't get extended. I don't think that Allison Harold said we had any of those, but you would know better being here every day.
Yeah.
Back when she talked about it a year and a half ago. But things that we have to replace, I would fully support doing, because
Yeah. The Chromebooks, I just, I get a little nervous, like you said, for that cliff, because typically the past few years we were using, not E-rate, what is the other acronym? It's through E-rate, but it's escaping me right now.
Alice, I don't even wanna tell you.
I was gonna say, you looked at Dean. Come on, Rachel. Dean was going far away from
Yeah.
you.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Is ECF funds?
Sandy, help me.
Anyway, it was, COVID
oh, cool,
funds
yeah.
through E-rate. But obviously that is no longer, and that's kind of how we were replenishing. And we were doing that like 1,000 at a time, so figured not ESSER, no, that's different.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wanna say it's ECF. But yeah, so I figured even if I can gain a little in preparation for that, it would be helpful. But yes, the staff laptops are definitely a priority for sure.
So if I remember the capital transfers, one of them was designated straight for capital IT.
Yes.
Or the earlier one, I think, was designated. The other one was just designated to be carried over into general capital fund.
Yes.
So at Rachel's request, the first one, whatever that was, $52,000 is allocated to IT already.
which would cover the laptop replacements that I had budgeted, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 100 laptops that aren't gonna run Windows 11, we should replace them. Gonna do it now, gonna do it next year, we have the money. Unless you have another pressing need. And it's always hard to ask, because the pressing need could change tomorrow.
Exactly.
But
But I do know that that is one that is definitely needed. And we already started the process. I believe last year's capital funds, we did do some of the laptops.
there's no reimbursement for any of this, right? I don't think we qualify. The hardware itself doesn't get us,
Not that I know.
so. I'd buy any laptop that can't run Windows 11 inside that, just my opinion.
So you got the line item Node 1 there, right? The Chromebooks to replace out of compliance and the teacher's laptop replacements, whatever.
Yeah, so if you felt comfortable just doing the laptop replacements.
I think that we're gonna start.
Whatever you think you can do for $87,000.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
So it's a 50, I think it's allocated to 50. 53 is IT one,
52,422.
is one way, it's IT one way or another, I think. The rest of it falls into the big capital budget. Not that that means anybody's more important than anybody else's, but
Yeah.
I think.
Obviously it does.
No, but I mean, I would assume, Glenn, that we would have this conversation in October, like the money that's allocated for IT, Rachel should just go get those, the board approves. Rachel should get those laptops that can't run Windows 11, whatever that number is, and maybe it's only 85, whatever it is you deem is appropriate inside the 52,000, but the rest of it, I think we come back around when we look at the total district's capital needs and say, okay, Dean had $314,000 left. We have this $20,000 or $35,000. What's the best use of this money to meet the district's needs? That would be my opinion.
I'm okay with it. Patrick? Yeah? Not anything we have to vote on, right?
I would just make it formal just for the sake of Rachel to go ahead and start doing, but it was already approved by the plan from this group.
Right.
But as everyone is in agreement, I think that's a good consensus to do it.
Motion for Rachel to spend that money at her best judgment.
Start replacing computer laptop, staff laptops.
the staff will thank you.
Have a second?
Oh, sure, second.
All approved? Opposed? Any questions? Motion passed. Rachel goes shop.
You don't have to tell me twice.
I was gonna say she already hit send on that card. I was gonna say, I saw her hit the button there, Glenn. Easy now. Use other hand move, right?
And I know it's gonna be, from a capital perspective, it's gonna be a difficult year for both you guys. I would just say, start making your, where are we, 24, 25? Start building your 25, 26 capital plan now. Anything that you see, let's put it on the list. So when it comes March, April, when we gotta start spinning this stuff to the city, it's dialed in and tight.
Are we going back to a 5-year plan?
It's,
We should always have a 5-year.
Should always
plan.
have
Well, we only presented
correct.
a 1-year plan.
A year,
And
yeah.
they
Right.
had mentioned it, so I just didn't know if,
And I realize Dean's got big buildings with 30-year lifetimes on things. So on Rachel's side, it is hard to be super accurate in a 5-year IT plan. Nothing against either one of you, it's just one task is harder to do because of the life cycle of the equipment. Yeah, but,
Ellen?
I think it also should be noted that if we don't do this now, like replace the laptops at 52, next year it'll be 92. And we won't have them to be in front of kids.
Absolutely.
So I think we need to show that to the city also, and to us, so we know
absolutely.
that this is the reality of it.
I would build the cliffs into your notes, like, X
Yes.
number of devices have to be replaced. We cannot use them after this date. The same thing with any of those things that are cliffs. I think it's helpful to show the city that we have to do this, or else there are kids without one-to-one devices.
I think what needs to happen, and I could be wrong, but I think we gotta get on the agenda for a city finance meeting, because essentially everything on our 23-24 capital plan's gone, and now we have to go to them and say, this is our 24-25, you know, we didn't get to do A, B, and C for 23, 24 because of time constraints and any other issues, and then present them with another 24, 25, so to have the money earmarked for those projects. So this way, we still take the balance, we're just shifting the balance to this current year, so the city can never come back and say, oh, you have 100,000 left because you didn't earmark it for anything. So that's how it was explained to me, and that's what I think we need to do in the upcoming months.
I leave that up to the administration to figure out what's the best way to secure the funding that you feel best. I think there was also something new this year where we can put any surpluses into some type of fund or trust, or elaborate on that.
We can, so the non-lapsing recurring account, we have the autonomy to do that. At any point, we can set the account up with the board's approval of doing that. However, what Scott's speaking of is this money's already been earmarked for us for capital projects.
Yep.
So it's just shifting the dates, similar to what Dean's gonna reprioritize, and to Scott's point is just to put it on the radar of the city saying, hey, you already approved that we have 372,000, making the number up.
Yeah,
Just rough math. Already accounted for. We did not spend it in 23, 24 capital. We are going to spend it in 24, 25 on these projects that are carryover. So this way they understand that that money is not being used because we don't need it. It's just that we're doing the projects currently. Correct. So that wouldn't fall into the non-lapsing only because it's capital that we already have accounted for. But the non-lapsing that you're speaking of is anything moving forward that we have any line item could be put into the non-lapsing recurring.
Okay.
You are correct.
So whatever you guys need to do to get on this agenda,
Yeah.
I would hope that's done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's important to mention to them too, that this is not that we just had extra money. We had some projects that came in at heftier numbers that we chose not to do, and that just changed the mix of what we were able to do. This isn't that we, randomly decided not to spend the money and keep it in our pocket. That would come back to haunt us.
No, I actually think they appreciate Dean, because Dean had mentioned a couple times that, this came in at 100,000, but I only see it coming in as 30,000 or something like that. So I think they appreciate that we're rigorous in what we're doing with these, because basically, we know what happened. We got the study, and we just put them on a spreadsheet because, he kind of inherited last year's capital plan, and that's basically what the capital plan was. Not that his predecessor did anything wrong, but he just kind of took, the greens, right, or the greens, and put them on a spreadsheet and said, I'm going to get these. So it was a pretty aggressive list anyway, but now Dean's making it its own, and we should get some progress and get some capital projects done.
Cool. Any other questions on that? All right, let's move on to that last one.
Yes, the elephant in the room.
Let's dig into it, yeah.
The protection plan. So I added a draft in there for you. I know that there were some emails going back and forth this summer. And I also, make sure that included, there's some of the charts that I had shared previously about how many were screens, how many were chargers, repairs covered, not covered. So the amount that we billed out to families for damages was about $69,000. We collected about $6,500, but we collected a total participation of just over $20,000. So with that, we have offset the cost for the district $27,000 this year, which was zero every other year. So first year, not so bad. It is working. We're bringing money in to offset that cost to the district. And I think that with all of the work that we've been doing for, we're implementing a better inventory system to keep better track of the repairs. Shelley and I had a lovely meeting the other day discussing procedures on what to do with students who have repeat damage and things of that sort. So really good things that are getting put in place this year to hopefully see those damage numbers get a reduction And then also, if you look at the plan, I bounced around some ideas of changing the enrollment fee because I want it to be a little more accessible to families. I think that the more enticing we can make enrollment, because that's obviously where we're collecting the most money, the better for us to be able to offset the costs of these damages. We are going to continue sending out invoices to families who have not paid up their damages yet. Hopefully we'll see some more payments roll in. I've seen actually a couple over the last week, parents like, oh, they're going back to school, I forgot I have to pay that. So they are gonna continue to trickle in. So hoping to increase these numbers. And I think that for the first year, we didn't do so bad.
Definitely, we talked about last year was going to be see what happens, right? We're
Right.
never going to get it right the first year. We made a good effort at it with the information we had, and I'm glad it rolled out and some families found some advantages out of it. Just a couple quick questions beyond what we went back and forth on. What is the process for collecting these fees? How are we handling that?
Parent Square.
So the damages fees, the $67,000 that was billed out, that we have collected like 10% of. How are we following up? What's the teeth we can put into it? Meaning, how do we address?
Continued notifications through Parent Square, and then anything beyond that, I think would need to be built into some sort of policy for accountability. If you don't pay your damages from previous year, maybe I don't know. We can't tell them we can't provide them with something. They are not allowed to bring their own device. So that kind of leaves us in a tight spot of how to continue to provide these kids with an education without taking away their device.
And if I may,
Please do.
because Rachel and I had chatted about this, I mean, and I understand your question completely, Jeff. And in other districts, there is, through the policy, so if this committee feels that that's strong enough to warrant a policy, there are, you can withhold. And withhold, for example, it really only comes into play, unfortunately, for a senior, right? Because that's the meat and potatoes, the diploma, all of the other things that go along with it. And that's the success I've seen in all the districts that I've worked in and been with, and even that have it in policy. And it becomes a running total. So let's just say a third grader, for example, owes $72, right? It stays on their record until senior year. And at senior year, they've been given invoices every year. But at senior year, if you want to walk across that stage and get your diploma, you have to pay your $72 fine. And that is in policy. And unfortunately, the teeth behind it, and I think that was the crux of the question. I don't want to misquote anyone. That's where the teeth come in, would be at that senior year level, when all of your responsibilities is how the policy is usually written from just a legal perspective. All of your school-based responsibilities are handled. And school-based responsibilities, including any technology fees or other fees. For example, if they were to rip up and shred a book or something of that nature.
Yeah, they do the same with books, uniforms, instruments.
So we would definitely go to policy, and it's not something I'm opposed to. I think, and I don't know if the policy committee, I mean, I'm not speaking for anyone, I don't think they would be opposed. But the crux to your question, in my experience, and once again, I'm just one person here who's had that policy, it does only come to fruition as a senior. So you will see, unfortunately, things creeping with that individual student, and maybe from fourth grade. And you're saying, well, I'm not gonna see that now until 8 years from now, but there's no real crux of a fourth grader saying, we're not gonna give you your year-end report card, or, and it becomes tougher because I think parents are, there's no real feel until it's a senior, when you really need that piece of paper. And that's just been the experience I have.
I just wanted to make sure that if you need something in policy, that's why I'm asking. What can we do to be supportive of, because so far policy doesn't have enough pieces in it and parts to give you that leverage that you need to collect. We, as the board, should support you in doing that. That's where I'm going with it, the other, is that what we did for Apple's at CD for graduation? The Mac laptops, did we require that laptop to be returned for seniors last year?
To an extent, it's very difficult to collect from the high school because of the final exam schedule. So some kids have final exams up until, I think it was the day before graduation or the day of even, because they're allowed to make them up. They have like a makeup time. So what tends to happen is students will hang on to it for dear life until that very last day, and they'll even drive to the school to drop it off on that very last day, even if they didn't need it for 3 days prior, which, you know, maybe they're getting their documents or making sure they can, you know, have stuff for college applications, whatever that may be. But that it makes it very difficult for the IT department because we're not getting an inventory of what we have and don't have up until that very last second. And then how do we give a list to the high school so that they can call parents and say, hey, you know, you didn't pay this up or so-and-so didn't return this. It's just, there's a lot of moving pieces in that. And collection at the high school is something that we struggle with every year because of that flexibility in when they can return it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Rachel's in a tough spot. She can manage the technology, she can set up a protection plan, she can, you know, track repairs and try and build, but it's kind of, I think she needs a lot of help from the administration or policy to actually collect this.
Yeah.
Try to make sure we give you, from a policy side, what you need.
Yeah.
If you don't have the pieces, then you're being set up to have a policy that you can't enforce, and that's a failure on our part.
And, you know, to Michael's point, what do you do other than hold them accountable at senior year? I don't know exactly. Like, you know, I think in other districts, a lot of it is, okay, well, you don't have access to a district device, you have to bring your own, but we don't have that option in our district.
I don't know what the limitations are on, you know, extracurricular activities. I don't know what the rules are. We'd have to figure all that out in policy.
But I do think, to your point, Jeff, and I'm really appreciative to hear it, I'm certainly not gonna speak for Rachel, but I definitely appreciate that level of support. If the policy committee were to put it in place so that everyone understands, you know, you articulated perfectly, Glenn, these are steps we've taken to help, you know, mitigate damages and to help families, to help everything else. We also need their help to get everything back. And once it's in policy, to the point of an administrative standpoint, maybe those exams do end, you know, if Friday's graduation, they end on the Wednesday, even though those 2 days are makeups, now you're coming in and making up on the school issued Chromebook because we already have everything that's been turned in an accurate list. So I think that, not that we can't do that without policy, but I do think it helps because everyone is bound by policy. And now a parent can't say, well, I was just gonna return it Friday. No. You're returning it Wednesday because we need to document that it's returned and that Rachel can give an accurate count to insert school here. We're just saying the high school because that's where the rubber meets the road. But I think that would be a really good place to start, just to show that we are focused on this initiative. And now, to your point, you said it best before, we did this, right? We had some bumps and bruises, but it's working. And now that it's working, how can we keep that momentum going? So I think that would be a great place to spring.
So Rachel, again, not to beat a dead horse here, but we billed out $69,000. Does this number also include like the cost of devices that didn't get returned?
No, because we are still going through inventory at this moment.
And it also wouldn't take into account, I'm trying to get in my brain on a number of the total cost of damages, lost devices and damages throughout the year. We billed 69, but of the repairs that we covered under a protection plan or devices that didn't come back, like how much are we exposed as far as fixing and replacing equipment due to the students' neglect? Right, it's only 69,000, but obviously that number is much higher because devices didn't get returned and we actually fixed stuff under Apple Care or what have you. There should be some type of dollar value to say, oh yeah, we really needed $150,000 to fix all these computers.
which
Right, understood.
8 MacBooks is 100, is 10 grand.
Right. Yeah,
Just something like that. Not looking for an answer now, but
Yeah.
some type of metrics, maybe that's, we keep an eye on that, to have a better perspective so that administration can understand the scale of what we're trying to assist you with.
agreed, and I think that the new inventory piece is gonna be huge to better understanding those numbers, and now that everybody's a little more comfortable with, logging their repairs, and, this new inventory system has, we can build in the protection plan, whether, you can check off the box if it's eligible under the coverage and stuff like that. So I think that's gonna be a really big help to making those numbers more accurate for you guys and for us too, so that we can plan better. But I can see if I can pull up those numbers from this year.
The new software can bill straight to Power School, right? Or did we not buy that module? There was
Yeah, no.
but it can do the billing right in the software.
It can create the invoice through the software, which is more than we were doing because it was like a mail merge and I was spending hours exporting and mail merging and stuffing envelopes and all sorts of stuff in previous years. So now we are just sending it out through Parent Square with the invoice.
But it talks to Parent Square, doesn't it?
It doesn't.
There was an option for it, isn't there?
There's an option for, I think it's like an accounting module where we could basically use that third-party payment provider with
Okay.
them.
So shift the responsibility to Scott.
This committee loves doing that. That's one point of order there.
Basically, so we're using the third-party payment provider through Parent Square, which is Stripe. So instead of doing it through Parent Square, it would just go out through this system, which I like it going out through Parent Square because I feel like families are familiar with it now. They're getting used to checking there for updates and forms and all sorts of things like that. So I prefer it to go out through Parent Square.
We have it, not to cut you off, I'm
No.
totally talking over you, that's rude, I understand, but didn't we have an account balance when we had to pay for lunches and stuff? Wasn't that shown in Parent Square, you had an
School
account
bucks or
balance?
something?
It was
There
called
is
school
something
bucks,
it
my
is,
school
School
bucks.
bucks,
Right.
yeah.
Can we put, hey, here's your account balance, you owe $800 for, if they see an $800 account balance or
Yeah.
negative 800 or what have you, present it some way that's constantly in their face,
I don't think Parent Square currently has that.
no? Where was that? Where we
Stripe
saw
would.
that?
Our school bucks.
Yeah,
School
school
lunch
bucks,
system.
yeah.
That was a totally separate system?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know if you
So we
can
don't
put
take
other
lunch
things in
anymore.
there besides,
No, okay, just a thought.
I'm not
Never
sure.
mind.
Alright,
No, it's a good point. Stripe kinda offers something like that. Shelley and I were looking at it, but then it's another account that a parent would have to make a payment, and I want to avoid that, because sometimes it's a struggle to have people sign up for multiple accounts.
Yeah, more or less just a notification.
Yeah, well, so we can send out the reoccurring notification in Parent Square, that they have a balance. So,
I think it's a good next step. Let's get people into Parent Square, let's start pushing it that way.
right,
My only remaining question on this is the deductible.
yeah,
So it's said to have 2 instances of whatever kind of damage a child can throw at it with no deductible, which is, I get why you're trying to do it, but it's kind of unheard of for insurance. And if you compare it against the most popular insurance plan on the planet outside of homeowners and auto, it's your cell phone insurance policy, right? So we have a 25, and I don't disagree with your changing of the pricing. I get what we were trying to do. It was easier to depart from the prior discussions we had, just was easier.
Yeah.
But for $40, with no deductible, no accountability from a deductible, you could in essence cause $1,600 worth of damage, although I'm not sure which number we're using, because in the replacement plan, it says in MacBook's 800, but on the capital, it says 12, so I don't know where we want to put the numbers from when you do the final version of the form.
yeah.
But either way, I mean, between $1,600 and $2,000 worth of damage if you destroy, if a MacBook gets damaged beyond repair, somebody runs it over with a car, leaves it on top of the car and it breaks the screen, cracks the aluminum case. I mean, some of these things are awful, but they do happen. I think it's unusual not to have a deductible. I would entertain what everybody else thinks on it, to have some kind of we had a tiered deductible last year actually, so if you had a minor damage, it was X number of dollars for the first instance and X number of dollars for the second instance, but
Yeah, I think
Probably
last
have
year the first one was covered and then it went to the 50%. And if you're more comfortable with continuing that model, you know, I'm okay with that. I think that the reduction in just to sign up, I'm hoping it's gonna be more enticing to get more people to enroll in general.
did we do $0 deductible for device
For the-
destruction for the first
For the
occurrence?
first occurrence, and then after that it went to 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but there needs to be some teeth behind it,
Understood.
in just my opinion.
And this is a mashup of a few different drafts, you know, we kind of went back and forth and I had my own ideas and stuff, so I'm open to suggestions on how to make it.
What do you guys
So
think?
Jeff, are you okay with if we just make it for the first occurrence only? Is there a deductible for the first occurrence and then 50% for all occurrences thereafter?
Yeah, so then
Okay.
you pick a limit on, there's gotta be at some point line in the sand where
Yeah,
you can't have 5, I mean, you guys are already talking about it, but at number 3, I mean, maybe you only get to
right.
there's some kind of a limit on the number of occurrences you can have, or major occurrences.
I like that.
I don't know what you guys think, otherwise you could, how many repeat offenders do you have?
Oh,
You don't have to look at it, Rich, is it
yeah,
you shared it
was-
at one point, it was a percentage, but.
yeah. I think it was something like 10% was a repeat or something, and then, you know, that might be, they just had that second of like, they lost the charger the second time. First time they broke the screen, second time they lost their charger or something like that. There were very few where I had multiple, like 5, 6, 7 occurrences.
If you're comfortable leaving it the way it was last year, we'd be mincing over tiny little things at this point, but I do think we should have some kind of a deductible.
Yeah.
At that second occurrence, keep people from
I'm
not
okay with
believing it
that.
has any.
Yeah, and I think that that third tier I added, I just wanted to point out for the carts, is a little more, it's more fair to those families, because those devices don't come home. So it's just that accidental, I knocked it off my desk, or I broke the headphone jack in there, or I spilled milk on it, or whatever, just those accidents.
And those are all Chromebooks, right, mostly?
Yeah, there are iPads K1.
It was a great idea, that was a very good idea, keep a low-cost option for those
Yeah.
nuances in the classroom, so that was a good idea.
Thank you.
Alright, cool, so we need to make a motion for Rachel to send this out as amended? No?
Because it's already done, we'll just make the tweak.
Perfect. Everybody's good, any other questions on the device protection plan? No? Alright.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
So for his thing, do we need to make a motion to move that to the full board for approval? For the retro commissioning?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I'd like to if we can go back to that item, I'd like to make a motion to move the retro commissioning to the full board.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any questions? Hearing none, motion passed. Move it to the full board.
Yeah, I can just bring that this.
Alright, any other questions? And let's go, topics for future meetings. Alright, guys, just wanna keep it the same for right now? Take off retro commit, well, we're not, another month, we should have an update what's gonna go on with that, right?
Yeah, leave it, excuse me, I'll leave it. Same thing we do air quality, I'll.
Air quality, we gotta keep that,
Yeah,
that's gonna go
and
to
just
Vogel,
and just
right?
the updated projects that are moving forward and maybe break down some of the other stuff that we did.
We can, well, we can scratch off the 23-24 capital outcome, because we all basically understand the outcome there, and just, we'll keep 24-25 capital plan on there, just to keep up to date on any changes. Rachel, same stuff, and you can scratch off your device protection plan,
Sure.
and let's keep your capital plan on there as well, so we can, you know.
Yeah. get an
figure out
update
what
on.
you're gonna end up, we'll see what you go shopping for.
Sounds good.
I think you asked for a total dollar amount of what we thought that at the end, what the total damages were between lost and broken.
Yeah, after we finish inventory.
And it won't be next month, but in that future meeting category, you'll start to have the acceptance rate of the device protection plan. That was cool to see last year. How many families, and like a comparison, what we did, how many took it this year versus last year?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Alright, comments for the good of the order, start with Jeffrey?
Great job, everybody. Appreciate all the hard work over the summer and a lot to do this year. We'll all work hard to do it. So, thank you.
Mr. Wilson, I just want to thank all the custodians and all the tech folks. I mean, it's been round the clock, so we're really working hard and everyone is really working to get everything set up and we're excited for the opening of school. So thank you and thank you for a great first meeting.
Great meeting. Nice to see everybody.
Oh, all set, thank you.
Thank you for your support, it means a lot, and shout out to my team once again, Josh over there. They've been working really, really hard, and I appreciate them.
Good meeting.
Thank you. Good meeting. Good meeting.
Alright, excellent. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Alright, meeting is closed.